Hello, everybody, and welcome in to another episode of the Couch GMs podcast.
Oh man,
Number 25, and Cody is still looping the music,
hey,
but
so
it's
I'm gonna loop.
one of the preseason.
Yes, preseason loops gonna happen. I guess I definitely flicked it off, so I don't know how I got turned back on. I'm gonna blame George. Thought he was helping me out by unlooping it like he did a couple weeks ago, and I just
Wasn't
turned it
me this
back on. I
time.
think so.
Nope.
It's always George.
You get to blame me plenty if you don't like our team that we're drafting today, because we're doing I found out the name is War Room mock draft, but a collaborative mock draft. We've been calling it wrong this whole time.
Cumulative, war room, collaborative. They're all mean the same thing.
Yeah, it's pretty similar, but we're gonna be doing a mock draft today. You're doing up a lot of mock drafts actually coming up throughout draft season here, so it's nice to get kicked off at week 1 of the preseason. We also have a couple other things coming up in news, but make sure you're following us at the Couch GMs on Facebook, X, Instagram, and TikTok to get even more than you do from the show. Make sure you're watching us live for now Thursdays at 6:30. We may be adding more to the regular season. That's a tease for you there. So make sure you stay tuned and keep an eye out for any schedule updates that are coming up at the regular season. But Cody, what's happening? Plenty of things happening with week 1 of the preseason coming up, but I think the big one was not something we expected, where the NFL announced a merger of some of its assets with ESPN. Some of the assets including NFL Network, NFL Fantasy, NFL Red Zone. A lot of changes, I think, coming on the fan end of things over the next few years.
Yeah, definitely. And I think nothing's going to change for this upcoming season. They have announced it, not to go deep into like behind the scenes stuff, but it has to be reviewed and stuff like that. But it's a big acquisition for sure. A couple things I think are worth noting. Pro Football Talk. I saw that he put this out there. It's worth noting. The NFL now owns 10% of ESPN, so take that grain of salt anytime they break news or how the stories are spun, because they're a driver factor behind that. So that's one thing to pay attention to. Two, it hasn't been decided yet on how that's going to impact fantasy, whether you use ESPN or NFL.com, other than they're going to merge together. But unless you've seen something more recent than yesterday.
Now, I was going to say it was announced that they're going to merge together, but it's hard to tell if they're going to merge together under the NFL fantasy umbrella, under the ESPN fantasy umbrella, if it's going to be something different. We don't really know.
Yeah, I know the ESPN fantasy app had a little bit of a facelift the last couple of days, changed some icons. I don't know if that's like in prep of what's going to happen, or if it's going to be the same platform across both apps and they're just going to let them run slightly different. I did see that in that new update, though, kind of sidetrack here with the fantasy update, is now 10-man leagues or less default to playoffs starting week 14. So if you're in a league like that, make sure you change that, or you're going to not have Christian McCaffrey and a bunch of other teams in your week 1 playoffs, because they'll be on bye. So make sure you adjust your settings there.
Yeah, there's no way that you can start playoffs. There's a very set window now where they have bye weeks versus like you don't want to play on the last week of the season where you have to have your fantasy playoffs now. So
yeah,
that has to be a glitch too, right? They wouldn't purposely set that.
I think that because ESPN's always been like the double round, like 2-week playoff
championship.
I think that's kind of the default thing there, which because of that window, it doesn't work. So just double check your settings with the app that rolled out. But back to the NFL ESPN merger. The other highlights are, like George mentioned, NFL Network will now be owned and operated by ESPN, but the NFL company will still make some content, and they will still own and operate NFL Red Zone. Where it gets confusing is ESPN now has the rights to the name of Red Zone. So even Roger Goodell teased potential college football format of Red Zone on Saturday. So sign me up for Red Zone Saturdays and Sunday. Like, I already thought like the weekends were too short in the fall, but I'll be on the couch for 48 hours straight if we got college football Red Zone and then NFL Red Zone.
I'm surprised it hasn't happened sooner, but I guess if in the football space itself, like NFL kind of held a monopoly on it, that could be why it didn't happen in the college football space. But I've even seen other sports over the last 2 years, not like every night, but on certain nights, they'll almost do a red zone-esque thing. I know the NHL was doing it on nights that they have all of their teams playing. So I think it's kind of becoming a format that's breaking through all the sports barriers at this point.
Yeah, I was trying to think what are some of the other sports that it would work with. I mean, football works because they play one. Basically, all the games are played on one day. You have your
Yeah.
one-off games. But like basketball, like and hockey, like I'm not a big hockey fan, so I didn't even realize that happened. But like with
Mhm.
it being so fast paced, like how do they cut back and forth? The same I think would happen with basketball.
Yeah.
Like you get like the driver cams on like the racers, the racing things that you can see
Mhm.
but like outside of that, like quad boxing, I can get and stuff. But I'm interested to see how it goes in other sports.
Yeah, I mean, in hockey at least, I know when they've done it, is you're getting every goal, which is not shocking. Some of them you're getting on delay, but you're kind of getting the same thing with touchdowns and red zone. And then I think they kind of show like key moments in power plays is kind of like where they lean to.
Yeah.
So makes sense.
But yeah, should be a lot of interesting things coming down the pike with the NFL and ESPN merging together or selling parts of them. But I'm interested. I think the fantasy impact is obviously we're a fantasy podcast, but that's going to be the biggest thing to see how it unfolds. And I don't really like either platform, so
Yeah,
the
NFL
thing
comms form
is
has
so they
been
can get together
struggling.
for sure.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. But we have not been a fan of ESPN pretty openly recently either. So yeah, hopefully for fantasy sake, it makes a good platform. It takes one option off the table, kind of, when you consider there was those two, Yahoo and Sleeper, as the tops. There's obviously some others, but now there'll be a kind of a big three for your regular redraft fantasy.
Yeah, and some of the stuff I saw, which I thought was interesting too. Again, not to spend too much time talking about apps, especially the ones that are not sponsored by any way, shape, or form. Uh, a lot of the ESPN updates that I saw uh, made it feel very sleeper esque. So it kind of seems like Sleeper has, they've been like the leader in innovating the fantasy apps. And it seems that ESPN is trying to go in that direction. And with ESPN Bet now getting the NFL network and stuff like I could see them becoming a very similar to a sleeper platform.
I could definitely see that as well. And working in prop bets and stuff into those fantasy platforms is not something that we had thought of, I don't think, until Sleeper came in and did their over unders and stuff. So yeah, I'm interested to see what cool things we can come up with and how deep into the game they get, because I think having Sleeper in the game over the last few years, as much as I have been kind of on and off with Sleeper, has been good for innovation in the game. So
Yeah, definitely. I like that they always are trying new rules. I know like last year they gave the setting that you could designate players to be replaced before they play for
mhm.
guys that might be injured and stuff like that. Makes the game more competitive. But that's enough talking about the unknown because we're years away, or at least 1 year away for this stuff really taking out. Let's talk about some stuff that is happening right now. And right after we stopped recording last week was the whole Micah Parsons put out the tweet where he was going to he said he basically doesn't want to be there. Um, although he still had been practicing up until today. He now has back tightness, whether that is legit back tightness. Bro, I tried to tell you that we need to make some progress on my deal or what? At the end of the day, I think Mike Parsons is still gonna be a Cowboy, but what was your thoughts of how this whole thing has unfolded over the last couple of days?
It's not too often that we see a player do exactly what he did when he put out the whole big public statement, and it was a pretty bad one for the face of the Cowboys too. Just how much he ripped how the negotiation process has been going so far and how bad Jerry's been mishandling the situation. And I mean, who knows how much is true and how much is not? There's two sides to every story, and obviously it was emotionally charged, but with how bad the Cowboys have been mishandling contract situations over the last few years, it's not shocking to see that something like this came up with another star player. And they really have to do something to make playing for the Cowboys actually, you know, held in high regard again, because it's just been frustration and mediocrity at this point for years.
Mhm. For sure, and like you mentioned, it feels like every year now we've done this. Obviously, last year we did with CeeDee Lamb, the year before that with Dak Prescott,
Mhm.
and ultimately they get the deal done. And it seems like we're gonna end up in that direction. But I think even when Jerry was asked about it, he was like, "Well, there's no guarantee that Mike is going to play Week 1 versus Philly. Like, how do you open the season without your best guy over a contract dispute when he is a first round pick that would be one of the easier things to sign is guys going into the second contract. You know what the market is. You already have them from team control. And it just seems like there's something extra going on there. So there might be a chance that Micah could be moved. Have you thought about any places that might make sense for Micah?
No, I feel like because I've been thinking he's staying in Dallas, that I've been pretty confident he's going to just be there. But he's gonna go to a contender, I think, if he's gonna go anywhere. Um, it's hard to tell with the cap situation with him wanting that much money if he can fit in a Kansas City or a Buffalo, but those are two places that come to mind that I think could use a little bit of a boost. Um, yeah, I haven't thought too deep.
Yeah, I haven't spent too much time either. Um, I don't think he has a say. Like, I think if he gets traded, Jerry will trade him to like Jacksonville or Tennessee or Las Vegas. Like, it's like you don't want to play for the Dallas Cowboys. You're going to go play for, you know, like almost like a spite deal. Like, we're going to send you off into obviously Las Vegas with Max Crosby. That would be fun, right? Like,
Oh, it
Micah
would.
Parsons is a great player. He's going to make any team better. I mean, I wouldn't like Jerry's the kind of guy that would trade him to the Eagles. Be like, I don't care. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like that's what I'm trying
Yeah.
to get at with the whole like I don't know if it's a guaranteed contender, but Buffalo makes a ton of sense. And I did see one of the ESPN people put out a potential trade. Basically, there was some first round picks, some I think Ed Oliver was thrown in there, but it was basically a Micah Parsons for James Cook and
Hmm.
pieces, almost like two disgruntled guys. Cowboys need a running back. The Bills need a pass rusher. It kind of was like an interesting thought. I was like, that one I could see maybe getting some legs behind it, but then we would just be right back there with the James Cook, uh, who is still holding in Buffalo. So another contract that needs to be resolved.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't know if Dallas. I mean, I would think there would have to be sign and trades in place for those two to go to that new place and then not have the same exact issue pop back up again. But
For sure.
I think Buffalo's a good fit. So I don't know if that exact trade would work. I like the idea of it. But we'll see.
He went to Egypt with Jordan Love this summer, so he can come to Green Bay.
Oh, so you're holding that hope for that one.
My 0.001% hope right there.
Like you said, Jerry would trade him to Philly, but the cap situation in a year and a half would be absolutely insane for Philly. So I don't see that one happening. Even though I think it could be somebody I think would fit what they would usually do. I don't think that one's happening.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. One guy we won't have to wait and see. His contract got resolved. Kyron Williams, 3-year, $33 million extension with the Los Angeles Rams. They finally found a running back. I feel like they've been on a running back carousel, whether that was Kyron, Cam Akers, Daryl Henderson. After
Since
Todd
prime
Gurley,
Todd Gurley,
I
yeah.
was going to say it's been a bunch of running backs, and they finally found their guy. Kyron gets locked up. Good for him. Also, speaking of the Rams, Matt Stafford having some back issues. They're expecting to be ready week 1, but he hasn't been practicing. Had to get an epidural, so something to monitor as that team kind of is in a championship window now.
He's been dealing with being banged up in some form over the last 2 seasons, I want to say. At least last year, I know they were dealing with some shoulder situation with him as well. Now it's a back. Like, he's a quarterback who's up there in age. He doesn't need the reps in training camp and the preseason as much as some of these other guys. So I'm not really worried about him coming out in the regular season and not being sharp. But obviously, back injuries linger, something to keep an eye on for him. And hopefully with the Kyron Williams situation, we can stop trying to replace him with other guys on that roster like we have been for the last 3 years.
Yeah, I think at least until next year's draft, when they draft another guy in the 3rd round, then it'll be like their show. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, obviously they're being smart with Stafford too, holding him out.
Mhm.
And I wouldn't be surprised if he misses a week or two here or there throughout the season, and they trying to just keep him as healthy as possible for the late season.
Yeah, definitely. We'll see. I don't think he missed any time last year, despite all the situations we were talking about. But
They didn't play
uh,
starters week 17. So he played in 16 of the
okay.
17 games, but they didn't play starters. So I didn't want anyone in the comments. Technically, he didn't play in one game, but the Rams didn't play starters that last week.
Gotcha. Should we stay in LA and go to another injury situation?
Sure.
So what actually broke right before we hit record today? Chargers offensive tackle Rashawn Slater is out for the season with a knee injury. He was carted off from practice with a patellar tendon injury. So that's a big blow to the Chargers offensive line, a team that we thought was going to take a big step this year after a solid season last year.
Yeah, it's definitely a tough loss. They want to be a run power team. That's why they went out and got Omarion. That's why they brought in Najee Harris, and he's probably
And why
their
they just signed Slater to an extension this offseason too.
yeah. I was gonna say he's their best offensive lineman, so it doesn't help at all to lose a guy of his caliber, and it just sucks all around. But hopefully he's back better than ever, and I know that definitely upsets you as you are a Chargers fan.
I'm a Chargers fan. I don't know what you're talking about. I was about to say, I'm surprised you didn't hit the bumper, but you did. All right, cool. One more piece of news. We're going to go up to Minnesota, where Jordan Addison is suspended for 3 games due to a DUI incident that happened back in 2024. Not shocking that there was going to be some kind of discipline coming down from it, but officially 3-game suspension. And how do you think that affects his fantasy value? I know 3 weeks at the beginning of the season is not that big of a deal in the scope of things, but does it affect his value at all?
Not too much, really. I mean, he's already a number 2 wide receiver with a new quarterback, so he was already like a mid-round guy. Maybe he starts to slide a little bit like a round or two. But where you were like, he's not going to drop drastically because of 3 games. And then that's also a good point to like figure out your league rules on if suspended players can go on your IR spots. And this is where I'd tell you if you play in a league without a kicker or with a kicker, which you shouldn't, you should play in leagues without kickers. Don't draft one. Draft Jordan Addison after the draft, throw him on your IR spot, then pick up your kicker and not have to worry about an extra roster spot.
Yeah, Cody's just celebrating because he finally got kickers taken out of our league of record.
They should be out of all fantasy.
Something that's definitely been changing over the last 5-ish years.
Hey, you know what? We were talking about this a little bit off the air last night. I'm ready for just 1 quarterback, 5 flex fantasy, and let's just go from there. Let's just have some fun.
World Cup iteration 2.0. Cody's going to pitch 1 quarterback and then like 6 flexes.
Why not? It'd be very fun to see how that all shakes out. And I think like because of the flex options, obviously like tight ends will get, appropriately valued at that point. But then some teams like myself, I think I even joke like I'm not going to have a running back. I'm just going to play wide receivers. Some teams are going to be stacked up with running backs because they feel like they're the upper hand. But then I think it would make trading even more interesting because like it's not how does you have all the flexibility in the world too. So maybe not the Couch GMs World Cup, but maybe we'll start like a unorthodox fantasy football league where each year we try something out of the blue.
If Kempy's listening, he is very excited about
Kempy is at the beach. He's not listening to us right now.
You're right.
Hopefully he's having fun and using SPF 100.
120.
So
are you ready to mock draft, Cody?
I am. If
All
you've
right.
been a long-time listener, we used to have a bumper. We don't know what happened to it. So George, hum the music.
Bum 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 bum.
My guy. All right. You want me to set it up? Can you tell them what we're doing?
Yes, sir. So today we are going to collaborate on a mock draft. So we are going to do a 12-teamer full PPR draft. Standard rosters of 1 quarterback, 2 running back, 2 wide receiver, 1 tight end, 1 flex, and then we're going to do 5 bench spots to round it out to 12 rounds. Good old 12 rounds and 12 teams. And we're going to pick right in the middle. We're going to pick 6 for this draft. And I don't think there's anything else I missed there. If there's anything else you thought of, Cody, feel free to fill in.
No, it's half point PPR scoring.
Full PPR.
full PPR. Look at
Change it
you.
up a little bit.
Yeah. Could have told me before I sound like an idiot.
I
But,
literally said it while you were setting it up. You just couldn't pay attention, and you can't multitask.
oh, I can multitask. I was
Good luck
thinking,
with that.
okay, we're not going to get into this right now. Are you ready to start this thing?
Yes, I am ready.
All right, here we go. Jamar Chase, 101. Jahmyr Gibbs, 102.
Oh,
Saquon Barkley, 103. Justin Jefferson, 1-4. And Amon-Ra St. Brown, 1-5.
I think someone fell to us.
Yeah, CeeDee Lamb.
I was gonna say Bijan Robinson, but I was thinking we were gonna end up with CeeDee Lamb here.
Yeah, I mean, that's the guy we were going to pick. I think we'll end up taking Bijan Robinson. But we should talk it out. Like, this is full point PPR. So sometimes you see the favor to the wide receivers. I think that's why we saw Jahmyr Gibbs go so early, because they're expecting him to be a big part of the passing game as well. And you get that extra perk. Did you say at the top who has the final say? Did we decide that?
We did not actually decide that.
All right. Do you want it at the top? Do you want odds or
I
even?
normally get odds, so I'll give you odds this time.
Okay, does that mean that means I'm up with the final decision. So I think we're clearly between Bijan Robinson and CeeDee Lamb here. The PPR aspect of it does like make a guy like Malik Neighbors kind of enticing, because he's the only guy there and he's going to get a lot of work. But it's still the Giants. And as much as I want to sit here and be like, oh, this and that, Bijan Robinson fell to us at 6. It's a no-brainer.
Yeah, considering we're seeing Bijan in some places go 2-3, even if it is full PPR versus half PPR, we usually talk. I think the value is just too big there.
All right, here we go. I was hoping Jahmyr Gibbs fell, and he went 2. So
yeah, that would have been nice. That would have been a no-brainer for sure.
And I think Sleeper was listening, because Malik Neighbors went 1 pick after us before CeeDee Lamb, followed by Puka Nacua, Derrick Henry, Nico Collins, and Brian Thomas Jr. to round out the first round.
Second round started off with Drake London, and then we had 2 running backs, CMC and Ashton Genty, go next. Brock Bowers, 204 in this 12-teamer, and then AJ Brown and Josh Jacobs back to us. A lot of wide receivers at this point off the board, so maybe going with Neighbors or Lamb would have been a good idea. And it's interesting because we have not done a draft like this from this spot. This is the first time, so we're kind of reacting on the fly. But I still see Lad McConkey there, who's not a bad pick.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking. I don't really want to double up at running back in a PPR early. If like
going
CMC
0 wide receiver is not a bad strategy in half PPR and standard, but in PPR, I feel like it puts you at more of a disadvantage.
Yeah, unless like if CMC was here, like I would have taken him. Like if someone like that fell to where we were at. I know Bucky Irvin and Devon Achane are good running backs. I don't love them as options here. We could be extremely different and take one of the quarterbacks and just feel it out, even though, because we're always preaching late round quarterback, but now we have the opportunity to take one early. Just see how that plays out here. But yeah, if you're going to go wide receiver, I mean, McConkey is the next guy on the list, or you could take like the flyer on Tyreek Hill, hope for a bounce back.
Yeah. I mean, the other thing that's interesting is we normally talk in 10-team league formats, because that's where Couch GMs World Cup is. That's where we play most of our leagues. But playing in 12, everyone gets pushed down the board a little bit. Actually, they push up the board a little bit when you consider, round 2 is an extra 4 picks deeper. I normally like Tyreek Hill a little bit later, which is why I was leaning McConkey. I don't hate the idea of just trying to feel it out and go quarterback, but then not having a receiver in a PPR until round 3 is tough.
It is risky for sure. We didn't talk about the news, but Keenan Allen made his return to the Los Angeles Chargers.
Mm-hmm.
Any concern with him?
I feel like at this point he's playing a supporting role, similar to how he did in Chicago last year. I mean, I think he kind of came back because Mike Williams retired. He's just filling in that number 2, number 3 / kind of guy.
Yeah. The only thing I would say with him, similar to, I don't think it's as drastic, but Keenan Allen has predominantly played a lot in the slot. That's where McConkey lives. Similar to how we talked about with JSN and Cooper Kupp. JSN is a very good wide receiver. He'll make do. McConkey, very good wide receiver. He'll make do. But that is the one thing I'm waiting to see unfold over the next. But I'm kind of stalling so that you can make your pick because it's your turn to have the final say.
I'm gonna say we go with McConkey here.
Okay, I think I would have went with Lamar Jackson, but this isn't because it's a mock draft.
Yes, I got
Not
you.
in a, but if you want to try to be a real draft, I think you made the right pick.
Okay. Going on to the rest of round 2, then we had Bucky Irving go after, and then Trey McBride. So that's 2 tight ends in the top 2 rounds. Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen went next, and then round 2 rounded out with Devon Achane.
Yeah, that picks up Jonathan Taylor at round 3. Kyron Williams, the second pick. Chase Brown, followed by Jaden Daniels. So 3 quarterbacks have gone already, followed by Jackson Smith and Jigba. Another name that is probably a little bit higher because of the PPR aspect of this and just the amount of targets and catches he got last year. Ironically, Tyreek Hill is still here. We talked about him with Ladd McConkey, so we could take that high upside if we wanted to. We could get into the T. Higgins as the top, wide receiver 2. Running backs are Brees Hall, James Cook are on the board. And then further down, you have Terry McLaurin, Marvin Harrison, and Mike Evans are currently on the screen. If you're listening to us, make sure you check us out on YouTube as well if you want to see the draft board. What is Tyreek Hill the no-brainer for you because we talked about him with last round? Any of these names sticking out in any way?
I mean, Tyreek Hill's a no-brainer for me. Number 1, because you talked about him last round. Number 2, he is my guy. So I think I have a little bit of a lean towards a bounce back there. And I think with the way we built our team so far, Bijan should be solid, steady presence. Ladd McConkey, if last year's any indicator, would probably be a pretty steady presence. Tyreek Hill would be your take a shot, and he'd be your high upside, high variance kind of player.
All right, let's do it. Let's take Tyreek Hill as I slap the mic.
He's very excited about that Tyreek Hill pick.
All right, Garrett Wilson went next, followed by Terry McLaurin, then T. Higgins and Marvin Harrison Jr., so a little bit of a wide receiver run. And then we had Brees Hall and George Kittle round out round 3.
Round 4 started off with James Cook and then Mike Evans, Ken Walker, Jalen Hurts went 404. That's probably the end of a quarterback tier there. And then Alvin Kamara and Rashee Rice back to us. And I'm actually wrong. I think the last person in this quarterback tier is probably Joe Burrow, who's top of the board right now. If you're still thinking early quarterback is take a shot at something.
I'm not intrigued. I think there's tier 1, but I think Allen and Lamar are tier S.
I'm on tier 2 at this point.
Yeah, I think so. I don't think I need to take any of these guys. I would look at Joe Burrow if I'm team 1 who had Jamar Chase, maybe stacking him at the end of round 4. I might like that, or because I'm petty, I would do it round 5 just so I say I took him a little bit later. But it's one pick, and you laugh, but everybody in fantasy is like that. So
100%. So they even do it when you had 1 and 2 in a dynasty draft.
Exactly. So, but at this pick, obviously we got your guy in Tyreek Hill. My guy has been Devontae Adams. So he's on there. I understand if we don't want to go 3 wide receivers and fill out our flex spot now and look at running backs, but because of that, we have Omarion Hampton and Chuba Hubbard as the top guys. And I would assume Hampton was out because we don't want to, string ourselves to just the Chargers this early. So if you're looking at running backs, it's Chuba Hubbard, or you have your wide receiver, Devontae Adams, in my book, is one of those 2 guys.
I think it's between those 2 also. You can talk me into going Devontae Adams here because it is full PPR. And I mean, Chuba Hubbard's fantastic, but not as much of a difference maker as when you're looking at round 1 when it's Bijan fell to 6. So do you have anything you want to say to try to push me towards Adams?
The only thing I'll add is how much more do we like Chuba Hubbard over James Conner, Joe Mixon, David Montgomery, 3 guys that have potential to make us back. If we want to play the gamesmanship of it, trying to figure out, with looking at teams 3, 2, and 1 already both have 2 running backs. Obviously, team 4 has no, so one of them is probably going to go there. And that also includes Amari Hampton, who we took out of the running because of the Chargers. So for me, I think the value difference looking ahead, which sometimes it's good to do, is project on who might be there available. I think getting Devontae as a solid flex and then getting one of those running backs as we come back around makes a ton of sense.
I agree with you. I do think this tier is very close to itself. So hopefully there's just not a run on running backs where it's run on running backs where we lose all of them. But this is one of the harder spots to project ahead as well, just because very middle of the round in a 12 team, there's still 12, 11 picks till we get back to us. But because it's full PPR, I'm cool with going Devontae Adams here.
All right, so we're going old man wide receivers. Then Joe Burrow went next, followed by Omarion Hampton, DK Metcalf, Chuba Hubbard, and then DJ Moore.
Next round started with Sam Laporta, and then we had Cortland Sutton, James Conner, George Pickens, and Joe Mixon. So we came back around, and running backs on the top of the board, David Montgomery, RJ Harvey, Isaiah Pacheco, and Travion Henderson. I guess we'll add Aaron Jones into that mix as well. We kind of lost the 4 we talked about.
I threw David Montgomery in the original 4. So for me, that's where I would go. I think Jahmyr Gibbs is a very talented player, but I'm not convinced that they're going to give him the full show in Detroit. I think they love David Montgomery, and I think he's still going to get his options. If you're afraid of having a number 2 running back as your RB2, the next guy on the list that would intrigue me is Isaiah Pacheco, but that's another running back that, I think a lot of people are sleeping on because of how last year went and the high hopes we had for him coming into the year, and then him getting banged up, Kareem Hunt coming in, never really taking over. But I think Pacheco's has a really good case for a strong bounce back this year, but I think I would still lean David Montgomery. Unless you want to take Patty Mahomes.
No, I'm not going to take Patty Mahomes here. We went hero running back when you look at it. And we talk a lot about when you go 0 running back and you end up with David Montgomery as your RB2 or even, potentially RB1 if you really go that deep. The consistency is typically there. I mean, last year in PPR, besides 1 week, he scored at least 12.5 fantasy points every single week up until his week 15 game when he left early with the injury and then missed the rest of the regular season. So the consistency is there. Even if we knock that down a couple of points, if we're saying Gibbs gets a little bit more piece of the pie and he is still a 9-10 point scorer every week, I don't think you can ask for much more than an RB2 spot. And we were able to stack up some receptions in the PPR format.
Yeah, that is his downside. He's not going to have a ton of catching options. Those will go to Jahmyr Gibbs, but I'll take David Montgomery here. I was hoping he fell. His teammate Jamison Williams went next, followed by Devonta Smith, Xavier Worthy, Zay Flowers, Patty Mahomes, and Tet McMillan.
Sorry you missed out on Patty there. Aaron Jones led off round 6, followed by RJ Harvey, TJ Hawkinson, Isaiah Pacheco, Jordan Addison still goes at 6'5", and then 6'6" is Baker Mayfield back to us. So now we're at the point with quarterbacks that it's us, team 1, team 8, and team 10, it looks like.
We don't have a quarterback. I mean, I'd have to actually click here to see the top quarterback is available. Bo Nix, Jared Goff, Kyler Murray, Justin Herbert, Brock Purdy. Yeah, I'm good with any of those.
Yeah, so I'm cool with waiting at least another turn, maybe 2. Top available on the board's Travis Hunter. Another interesting situation with him because it's like they say he's going to be heavy at wide receiver a lot early in the season. And then you look at training camp numbers, he's playing a lot on defense. I think it's a little rich right now to go him.
I'd agree.
Travis Kelce's on the board here. If you're talking about somebody who could have a bounce back, there's a possibility of that. And you've never been able to draft him as late as round 6, at least since he's been relevant.
Yeah, my only concern with Travis Kelce is just looking at our team now. We have a lot of older guys that we've seen their peaks, and we're kind of at that point where I'd rather take something that, might get better, whether that is like a, Travion Henderson rookie breakout. How does that look? Obviously, we're not going to take Quinshon Judkins because of all the stuff that he has going on, but even like a guy like Jerry Jeudy, who finally found some rhythm there in Cleveland. That's my only thought, but I could be talked into Travis Kelce. I also don't remember if this is my pick or yours.
This one's mine. I was leaning Travion Henderson.
Okay.
I get that third running back now. We don't really have to worry about running back then until we get towards the back end of the draft, pick up a fourth one just to kind of have some depth.
I
Plus
like
that we're getting another starting running back in case Montgomery does flop for some reason.
Yeah, and it gives us the high upside. So I like that pick a lot. That's probably that's where I would have went if it was mine.
I'm cool with it. Lock in Travion Henderson.
All right, Travion Henderson, you are locked to the Couch GMs team, followed by Chris Olave. Which if we were going to bet on bounce backs, maybe that was a guy we should have considered more. Then DeAndre Swift, Travis Hunter, Quinshawn Judkins, and Jalen Waddle.
Still think we went safe with what we did, but we'll see what we can get on the way back around. Round 7 had Bo Nix lead it off, and then Bijan Robinson, Calvin Ridley, Chris Godwin, and Mark Andrews. Back to us with Kelsey still on the top of the board and Jerry Jeudy, two guys we had just talked about.
Two guys I talked about, and there's still one name here that I think would be intriguing in a PPR. I'm going to give him a little bit of a boost, and that's Jacoby Myers. Just like the wide receiver option in Las Vegas. Getting him here late could be a flex start as well. And why draft Travis Kelce when I get Kyle Pitts next round? So it's kind of where I'm at.
Oh, Kyle Pitts. There's been a lot of talks about using Jacoby Myers in a lot of different ways also in that Raiders offense. We'll see what that means, but Chip Kelly's our offensive coordinator, so you never really know what's going to happen.
Yeah, and we're in round 7, so like if this guy completely flops, no big deal, no harm, no foul. I mean, even if it's like your number 1 pick gets hurt, like you can still make the playoffs, you can still win a championship. So I kind of like the high upside, the potential upside of a guy like Jacoby Myers, just because of the volume that is there. Where Jerry Jeudy, I think, is fascinating, but he was so high variance depending on who his quarterback was, and that situation scares me a little bit.
Yeah, his quarterback this year is a major question mark. That's the reason I don't really like Jeudy. I feel like he got pushed too far up draft boards because of how well he did last year. And if there was some kind of consistency at quarterback, I think it'd be fantastic.
I think Jerry Jeudy might end up being the most traded for or traded player this year. Like a guy, like once people see whether it's Shador, Gabriel, Pickett, Flacco, a combination of all of the above, and if he puts up numbers consistently, like he could be a guy that people are going to go target, try to get. Hey, you got him in the 7th round. I'll give you my 5th rounder for him early in the season. I could see that happening, but in this case, I think we take Jacoby.
Just really quick, is there any quarterback that could get named starter to start the year where you think you'd feel confident taking Jeudy here or earlier? Because I feel like if it's Flacco, it's the biggest upside for him, but I don't see Flacco starting the entire season.
No, and honestly, like I don't even know if it's really like how he gels with the quarterback. Like Jameis Winston was the guy he did the best with last year. So you kind of have to see it to believe it, even though the Santa Claus movies tells you that believing is seeing.
And I'm saying all this just to say I'm cool with taking Jacoby Myers. I feel like he's been one of the most underrated fantasy wide receivers in the league over the last 2 years, since he kind of broke out of his touchdown slump and then went to Vegas where he was a featured target.
I mean, we're really going to pass on Travis Kelce after 7 rounds. That's crazy.
Yeah, we are. It's interesting how it went. And I think Sleeper heard you because 707 is Travis Kelce and then Jerry Jeudy, Caleb Johnson, Jared Goff, Tony Pollard, and then round 7 rounds out with Kyler Murray.
Yep, round 8 kicks off with Rome Odunze, Khalil Shakur, Debo Samuel, Stephon Diggs, which is some good value there as well, Evan Ingram, and Tyron Tracy. That leaves the top guys on the board. You have Cooper Kupp, Jonnu Smith, Jalen Warren, David Njoku, and Travis Etienne. Some interesting names there for sure.
I mean, I feel like Kupp might not be bad in a PPR format, but it's also hard to tell how much of the target share is going to go his way, considering he's number 2 now.
And if you think Sam Darnold's legit.
It's fair. We saw a mixed bag at the end of the season out of Sam Darnold. Maybe he would have been more consistent having Geno Smith there, who, Geno Smith isn't an elite quarterback, but he was at least, steady.
Yeah, and if you're watching on YouTube, you're like, bro, stop rolling the screen. I'm just looking up here quick to see that every pick after us already has their quarterback too. So this is where we could play some gamemanship. We need a quarterback, but if we could probably wait one round, assuming no one's going to double up a quarterback through round 8. So
Yeah, and there's plenty of options: Herbert, Purdy, Caleb, Dak Prescott, C.J. Stroud, Jordan Love. They're all very similar in tier.
would agree with that. So any of these names sticking out to you?
I mean, if you want to take one more running back and then call it, we can take Travis Etienne and hope for the resurgence. I like him more than Jalen Warren, who's going to play just third downs, and I think that's probably about it. When it comes to tight end, I'm like kind of cool with playing gamesmanship there, even and waiting until round 10 and seeing left with like the Dalton Kincaid, Kyle Pitts, Tucker Kraft kind of, vibe in that one.
Yeah, I was going to say tight end. If you want to take like the high upside of Tyler Warren, like and just seeing, like I'd be okay with that. But I'm also cool with every name that you just mentioned a little bit later. I don't love any of these players. I'm not gonna lie. Like this pick sucks.
This part of the draft is rough.
And that's kind of like where you sometimes have to scroll down a little bit lower. I mean, I don't know who's gonna make it back, but these rookie guys too, like I talked about Warren, but Matthew Golden being a rookie, if you think he's gonna break out, Cam Scattaboo, if you think he's going to take over as the number 1 guy, you see Tyron Tracy went the pick before us. So that's kind of like who's going to start there. But the choice is yours, my friend, and you get to make it.
You really gave me zero help this time.
I wouldn't take Travis Etienne.
Okay.
And that I don't love his bounce back potential.
So
But I also really like Bayshell Tootin. So I think he's and Tank Bigsby. So like I think there's too many mouths to feed in Jacksonville as for a running back.
Okay, so I'll ask you the question: who do you like better? Pick your favorite receiver from Green Bay. Pick your favorite, favorite receiver from San Francisco, or Cam Scattaboo.
I'd probably take Golden or Pearsall if I was gonna like. Golden's probably my favorite here. I think it's so interesting with the thing with Green Bay, because like Jaden Reed is their top guy, but he only plays in the slot, where Matthew Golden will play in both spots. So, like when they're in 2 tight end sets and throwing the ball, which they like to do, Jaden Reed's not even on the field. That's what scares me about Jaden Reed.
Yep.
And I think he'll be very high variance, like you saw last season. Like he had some really good weeks and some really bad weeks in terms of fantasy. Like he'll be a productive player, but not a productive fantasy player. Ricky Pearsall, I think, is fascinating, especially after his game to end, kind of wrap up the season. I like his potential, former first round pick, making his comeback. That's kind of where I'm leaning out of those 3.
I was also leaning Ricky Pearsall with the strong finish last year. The fact that he has a chance to play wide receiver 1 this year, if not the worst, will be wide receiver 2. San Fran's got targets to go around. I think we'll go Pearsall.
All right. Some might say it's a reach. I'm trying to pick it. There we go. Pearsall was our pick. Jalen Warren, followed by Travis Etienne, David Njoku, Juwan Jennings, Cooper Kupp, Matthew Golden, Emeka Aboku. Wow, Emeka Abuka. I don't know why I was going to say Aboku because that's definitely not his name. Jonnu Smith, Justin Herbert, and we are back on the clock.
I just want you to know you missed Jaden Reed at 8-10. Also, just for listeners out there, Jaden Reed did not make it back either.
I swear I said him. Rewind the tape.
Throw their challenge flag that those commercials last year.
Exactly.
All right. I want to pitch to you. I think this is your choice here. If you want to go upside tight end, the 2 rookies still up there, Tyler Warren and Colston Loveland. And then you got all those quarterback options that we mentioned last round, except for Justin Herbert.
Okay. The quarterbacks intrigue me, but then again, I am looking at like so that one person started to double up. So I don't want to get caught here where we've
Yep.
been before. The quarterback I like, but the quarterbacks I like the most here are like Dak, Stroud, Love, and Fields, and May. Like, so there's like two quarterbacks in between there. For me, Tyler Warren, I think, is where I'm leaning. I kind of liked him last round. But the other name I saw in here, he was a little bit scrolled down. So maybe we'll keep him in mind for later, is Zach Charbonnet. I know Ken Walker has started being banged up again in preseason. Like, obviously we still have weeks away and it's nothing serious, but like you start to see those injuries up. So I'm keeping that as a mental note. And as like I start drafting more and more, like, hey, maybe let me just take a flyer on Zach Charbonnet and I might end up with a week 1 starter in round 12, like round 11 or 10, depending on how deep your league is. But I think I'm going to go Tyler Warren here, take the high upside. I kind of want to just go over here and pick Kyle Pitts to be funny, but let's take Tyler Warren.
I like it. That's where I was leaning here as well. And maybe the way to look at it was Zach Charbonnet. If you're not waiting on both tight end and quarterback like us, it's probably easier to take a guy like that around this part of the draft. Or handcuffs. That might be one of the top handcuffs this year that people haven't really talked about too much yet.
And Sleeper was like, bro, you make a good point. I'm gonna take him next.
I swear it's listening. That's not that's like the third or fourth time it's done that.
Scattaboo after him, then Javonte Williams. So there is a potential starter in round 9, followed by Josh Downs, Najee Harris, and Brandon Ayuk. Then you got Brock Purdy kicking off round 10, followed by Dalton Kincaid, Keon Coleman, Ramondre Stevenson. Why am I blanking on these names with their first letters? Caleb Williams and Jordan Mason.
Okay.
So we're back up.
I think we don't get caught anymore at quarterback. So we're between Dak, Stroud, Love, and Fields.
Yeah, we are. I can make a case for every one of them.
Yeah.
And I would even throw Drake May in that mix. Maybe he's slightly a tier below, so we'll leave him out. But of those 4, I'm between Dak and Fields.
And I think I'm leaning Dak because we haven't really seen a bad year out of Dak unless he's been hurt. Like, he's been at least at worst a top 10 quarterback, and unless he missed some time.
And their defense can be bad if they don't have Micah.
That's true. And even if they do have Micah, I feel like they've been kind of the opportunistic defense where like they've gotten a lot of turnovers, which has helped Dak sometimes in touchdown numbers, or they're giving up a lot of points and getting into shootouts. Or, I mean, Dallas has been known to, over the last 3 years, just completely blow out those teams that they should beat, which has been really good for those quarterback numbers.
All right, let's take Dak.
Not bad for around 10 in a 12-teamer. Colston Loveland went after that, and then Jaden Higgins, Michael Pittman, Darnell Mooney, and round 10 rounds out with Tajay Spears.
Yep, then J.K. Dobbins, Tucker Kraft, C.J. Stroud, Jordan Love, and Trey Harris are the current guys that went in round 11. This will be my last pick here. Looking at the board, there's a lot of tight ends. I could take Kyle Pitts because why not? It's a lot of quarterbacks and tight ends here in terms of best available. I honestly forgot Christian Kirk is also in Houston this year, so that was an interesting thing to see right here on the fly. Again, these are your late round options. We're not obviously drafting kickers or defenses, so we won't have those players to pick here. I like to take high upside guys, potential like Jaden Blue. Maybe he's a rookie that breaks out. We already have a couple rookies on our team, though. Marvin Mims would be an interesting name if you think Denver is for real. Scrolling down even a little bit further, I just said let's not take any rookies, but Kyle Williams, like the rookie that could be the number 1 guy in New England if it's not Diggs or Diggs gets banged up again. Not so again, high upside is where I'm looking. Any of these names stick out to you, or do you want to go in a completely different direction?
I'm not Matt, if you want to take Pitts and kind of secure a tight end flyer off the bat, as
Did you
much as
just
I
give me?
make a joke, I gave you permission to take Pitts if you want
Well,
to.
that's all we're.
Oh my
I,
gosh. He
don't
didn't
even
even wait.
don't even continue. We just doubled up at tight end, got Kyle Pitts.
I mean, the potential upside is there. And at this point, if you're taking him in round 11 and he busts and you drop him, too bad. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. So after us was Jake Ferguson, Dallas Goddard, then Jaden Blue, Rashid Shaheed, Drake May, Nick Chubb, Rashad White, Marvin Mims, Tanks Bigsby, Justin Fields, JJ McCarthy, Isaac Garendo, and we are back on the clock here. There's no quarterbacks I think are worth taking to double up because we took a late round. At this point, we'll play the waiver wire if we so need to. We have 3 running backs, 4 wide receivers, so our team is pretty balanced.
5
And
wide receivers.
we have 4.
We have a flex receiver, 2 on the bench, 2 starting.
Okay, well that's dumb. That flex is 1 of 1. Dumb.
Okay, whatever you say.
Do you see what I'm saying though?
I do see what you're saying. Yes.
It says 4 wide receivers, 3 running backs. Why is there 1 of 1 on flex? It could be any of those.
I know
dumb.
that is not great, but he's a receiver in our flex. So we have 5 receivers, 3 running backs. I want to ask you, just like, are you comfortable going into a season with 3 running backs? I know everyone you're going to get here is kind of a flyer, but
yeah, I'm pretty comfortable with that. I mean,
I'm not shocked you are, but I wanted to hear it from your face.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'd probably be comfortable with 3 running backs. Maybe in our case, because 1 is a rookie on a bad team, I'd probably try to take a flyer here. Maybe I would take another rookie in Bashaw Tootin. Maybe I would take an Austin Eckler just because, give me someone solid as potential. Maybe a Ray Davis and see what happens with James Cook. Is he still holding in? As my flyer, if we're drafting this early, obviously by when we encourage people to draft, you'll know more about the James Cook situation. So I think in this case, I would lean running back just because of our third one being an unknown. But when we talk about teams up here, if just looking at team 3 real quick, like they have Saquon Barkley, Chase Brown, James Conner. That's their 3. They're in the similar boat than us. I'm cool rolling with those 3.
Next question for you. I mean, I know we have 2 Falcons players. One's Kyle Pitts. He's on our bench. That's kind of interesting. Handcuffs. I know you're not normally a big fan of handcuffs. In this situation, do we just take Tyler Algier? Lock up 1 backfield. No, we'll have 1 starter there every week except for their bye.
If you want, like you said, I'm not a huge fan of handcuffs. Because things can change when the star running back goes out, but Algier at least has proven in the past that he could. So if you wanted to take him as a handcuff, we have the second tight end if we need a cut spot. So
I'm gonna have fun and take Bashal Tootin, but I wanted to see what you thought about that.
Bashal Tootin. Dude has fumbling problems, but he's a good running back.
If he can fix those fumbling problems, are fixable. It's not like you can make someone run faster, but you can help someone with ball security. So
we already have 2, and if we didn't take Kyle Pitts, I probably would have said let's take Isaiah Likely and stash him.
He's dealing with injury too, though.
Yeah, but he'll probably. I think he's going to start the season. Now I would take him and see what happens. Yeah. I think we had this conversation. You think he might not actually hit IR because he can be back by week 3. I think he might do the short-term IR to start the season.
If he had short-term IR to start the season, it's almost ideal scenario. You can take him, stash him, pick up if Bashal Tootin falls out of the draft, for example.
All right, but you want Tootin?
Take Tootin.
All right, so Tootin went, followed by Luther Burden, then Kyle Williams, Zach Ertz, Austin Eckler, and Cam Ward. And there you go. There's the draft board. Recap our team, George.
All right. We had Bijan Robinson, went 3 receivers, then with Ladd McConkey, Tyreek Hill, Devontae Adams. David Montgomery and Travion Henderson in round 6. 7 was Jacoby Myers and Ricky Pearsall, Tyler Warren, Dak Prescott, Kyle Pitts, and Bayshil Tootin.
Instant reaction to our team. Is it a league winner?
I think there's plenty of upside on it. I normally am not someone who feels comfortable waiting until round 5 to take RB2 and then only taking 3 before the end of the draft. But I think with the guys we got, we played safe and then still got plenty of upside at receiver.
Yeah, I would agree with that as well. I did think I was trying to look here at the quarterback spot. I'm a big proponent for late round quarterback, and then I always take, I'm like, man, should I have taken one earlier? But like, I don't see a spot really that made a ton of sense to take one higher, other than maybe doing Justin Herbert instead of Ricky Pearsall. But like, the potential to have a wide receiver 1 in round 8, I think made that worth it.
Yeah, and the fact that he still almost fell back around to us, I think it was worth the risk. The only other place I think we would have taken a quarterback would have been, instead of taking Jacoby Myers, taking either Goff or Kyler Murray. But I think I like having Jacoby Myers there a little bit better.
Yeah, I would agree. I would agree with that. It would have been interesting to see how this team unfolded. Like, I really like Lad McConkey. So, but like, if we would have went Lamar Jackson and we still ended up with Tyreek Hill, Devontae Adams, David Montgomery, like, that could have been a fun team as well. I think Lad McConkey's a good player to give us our flex spot for sure. But that'd been interesting. Looking at the other teams, though, I did think Team 1 had a solid draft, especially with their first 3. Like, I like the Jamar Chase pairing with 2 running backs, and then I like DJ Moore more than most people, I think. So I think that's a solid pick as well. Any of these teams stick out to you as you like what they did?
I'm just trying to think. Team 10 is very running back heavy, which is interesting in a PPR, but they have a lot of upside at receiver, being Marvin Harrison is their 1. If he breaks out this year, you're actually getting him at a better value this year than you did last year. Zay Flowers, high variance, but if you can get more good weeks than bad, and then your running backs can carry you, you're good. And then you still went out there and got Deebo Samuel, who's probably going to be a receiver 2, but could be a wide receiver 1, depending on the McLaurin situation. And Josh Downs, if he hits his potential, he can be like Zay Flowers. High variance, but a lot of potential.
For sure. And then I do have to, we talked about not doing this, but Team 4 went Justin Jefferson, Trey McBride, Jaden Daniels. So they went non-premium positions early. But then they balanced it out with Omarion Hampton and George Pickens, DeAndre Swift, Chris Godwin, Travis Etienne. So I think the running backs are definitely their big question marks. Like, that's definitely scary going into the season, only having 3 in those being the guys. But I think
I've seen you do it plenty of times.
Yeah, I think they think there's enough value in their tight end and their quarterback to overcome some of those shortcomings. I think that'd be a fun team if this was a real league to monitor how it unfolds.
Well, it seems like you really are itching to try to get something, like put some drafts in with early quarterbacks or early tight ends. So I have good news for you, Cody. You're going to have the chance to do that over the next few weeks.
I know. We got a lot of mock drafts coming up, some fun ideas, some different things happening. So make sure you are staying tuned. I did not mean to do that. I removed the wrong thing. Sorry, George. Welcome back.
Good to be here.
Yep. George, welcome to the show. I drafted a team. It did good.
Oh,
but
okay.
No, definitely looking forward to what's coming next couple of weeks as we get closer and closer to the NFL season. Any last words before we jump out?
No, think we're good. Enjoy week 1 of the preseason. Don't overreact to too many preseason breakouts, and we'll catch you back here next week.
Absolutely. There's a game kicking off right now. So that means that it's time for us. And on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, X, TikTok, all those good places at the Couch GMs. We are live on Thursdays at 6:30 over on YouTube, in your podcast feed the next day. Join us in the comments next time. We got a lot of fun shows coming up. I'm Cody Roadcap. That's George Kurth. We'll talk to you all next week.